They said we were thick. They said we couldn't learn, couldn't thrive, couldn't shine. But here we are. Living proof that resilience rewrites the story. There are no labels. There are no limits. This is Thick No More, where voices rise, stories connect, and the stigma ends. Hey everyone, welcome back to Thick No More. This is the podcast where we turn lessons and struggles into strengths. I am, of course, your host, Jay, and today I'm joined by someone whose story not only resonates really deeply with me, but pretty much anyone who ever's felt unseen. My guest today is Pamela Cass. She's a performance coach, a speaker, an author of an incredible book, which we're going to tap into. It's called The Quiet Gift. Pamela's similar to me. She grew up in the 70s. Diagnosed with dyslexia at a time when support was pretty much non-existent. Not that there's a lot of support these days either, but anyway, that's a subject we'll talk about later. For years, she tried to hide it. I met Pamela a few weeks ago. We had a great conversation, really hit it off. She spent time feeling invisible in classrooms that didn't understand her, but through courage, honesty, and I guess some self-acceptance, Pamela's turned that invisibility into invincibility. Pamela, welcome to Thick No More. I am honoured to have you on, and I know it's very, very early in the morning for you, so I appreciate you. Thank you.
Yeah, absolutely. It's an honor to be here, and I absolutely love what you're doing in the community you're building. So I couldn't think of a better place or a better way to start my day.
Amazing. Okay, so same question. Everyone gets this question. All right. And two dyslexic minds here. So I'm hoping you've got a good one for me. So you picture the scene. We'll do double doors, not single doors. Double doors, big auditorium, doors fling open, and your theme tune starts playing. That theme tune sticks with you every time you open a door. What's your tune and why?
You know, it's funny. I would say if you had asked me that question maybe 2 years ago, I would have said, this is my fight song. I don't even know who sings it. But it very much felt like, I was fighting to get my life back. If you asked me that today, which you just did, I would say my song is Unstoppable by Sia. And I just
Love
think,
Sia.
yeah, and I think it's just one of those things where, when you have dyslexia, you think of it as a disability. And when you come to grips with it and you see it as a gift, then you become unstoppable. And so that song just absolutely resonates with me today.
That is
Yeah.
a great, great tune. She's such an amazing voice. I'll
Yeah.
tell you something that you probably won't be aware of. So in the late 80s, early 90s, that's when Sia first came onto the scene. And when she first came onto the scene, she was a recording artist that just did dance music. And there's a very famous song that she wrote, which was a huge hit in the clubs before she was just an unknown. I'll put it in the chat later on so everyone can listen to it. But again, same sort of vibe, you could see where she was going all the way back then with her lyrics.
Yeah.
You know, the way that she kind of makes you look into your soul and think, well, yeah, I can actually do this, So
Absolutely. But Jay, let me ask you the question. What's your song?
for my sins, I can't read it really, but I have the
Oh,
lyrics to a Depeche Mode song
oh,
on my arm.
okay.
And it's my favorite Depeche Mode song is Walking in My Shoes.
Okay.
Again, very, very relevant.
Mm.
There's a line in the lyric that says, if you try and understand the day I've had, you try and do what I do every day. You try walking in my shoes. And for me,
Yeah.
same as you, and that's what I'm going to talk about in a second, is we've done it for years and years and years. We've had this battle, and that's the way to describe it, a battle. And there are kids and children and young adults and even adults that are hiding, still going through what we've been through. And it's a shame to see, but yeah, it's a great song. You should have a listen to it. You'll like the lyrics. 77, you were diagnosed, was you? Is that
Yeah,
right?
77, I was diagnosed. Yeah, 7 years old. Yeah, now you guys
So
can do the math and you know how old I am.
yeah, well, listen, we're similar age, so it's
We're the
fine.
same
You know,
age.
we're
Yeah,
we're both masters of our own
yeah.
age here. No, it's a quite. No one else listens.
Yes,
It's fine. You'll be fine.
yes, yes, yes.
Oh, so obviously, I didn't get diagnosed till I was way gone.
Yeah, yeah,
But I'm really curious to know, in the 70s, what was it like then? What was the diagnosis like? How did it change? Can you tell me a bit about it?
yeah. So we were living in a very rural town outside of Boston, Massachusetts, and I remember a lot of time at the kitchen table with my dad in the evenings trying to get work done that the other kids got done in class. And a lot of phone calls from the teacher, she's not getting her work done. And at the time, I think my parents thought I just wasn't applying myself or I was being lazy or whatever that is. And then finally, a teacher approached my parents and said, you might want to have her tested. Maybe there's something going on. And so that meant I got an entire day out of school. So I was super excited and we got to go into the city.
This?
I was like, well, this is okay. So I'm with my mom and we get to go into the city. And I remember pulling up, of course, in the big old family station wagon to this very tall building. And it seemed very overwhelming for a 7-year-old. And I just remember looking up at the building and not knowing what this was going to be. And so going in and I mean, I remember bits and pieces of the testing, but I was there for most of the day. I think, we expand things when we're a child.
Yeah.
And then I
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
remember my parents getting the call and with that diagnosis of dyslexia. And I didn't know what it meant, just that my brain worked differently than other kids. And so when I went back into the classroom, because we were in a rural area where we didn't have malls or fast food restaurants, we were surrounded by apple orchards, and so it was a very small community. Going back in the classroom meant that I didn't get special help, which today they keep kids in the classroom usually. Well, I didn't. I was pulled out of the classroom and I would hang out with a teacher aide. And I remember making chocolate chip cookies and doing artwork. At first, it seemed fun, like, oh, this is awesome. Like, I get to do the fun stuff. But what happened is then when you come back into the classroom, the kids wonder, "Well, why didn't she have to do what we had to do? Why is she different?" And so the whispers started to happen, and so that's when I tried to be invisible. I was like, "I don't want people to notice me." And so I very much shrunk and hid because I didn't want to be seen as that different kid, but everybody else was forging friendships and bonds that you form when you're young, and I wasn't because I was that kid that wasn't there with everybody else. I wasn't experiencing the same things, and so it was very, very lonely.
That's so sad, man. And when you said to me when we spoke a couple of weeks ago, I mean, I joke about it, right? It's not to be joked about, but I can joke at myself. I have the worst handwriting in the world, and I can't read my own writing. But one of the things I managed to capture from what we said before was that word, and it is a word I've got written down in front of me now. That invisible. That's really sad. That's for a child of that age to feel like that. And I kind of picked up on something there. You said that you'd go back into the classroom. That probably then also made you feel ousted a little bit in the sense that they were all staring at you, thinking, well, again, more pressure when you're already not really sure because you've no idea what's going on up here. It's just a muddle.
Yeah.
But then to have that added pressure as well, that's really tough for a child at that age.
Yeah, and I was living this kind of double world where at school I wanted to be invisible. I didn't want people to notice me. But then at home, I wanted to be visible. And so I started hiding in a closet. There was a closet in our hallway, and I would hide and I would close the door, and it was dark and peaceful. And I always had my cat with me, my faithful cat, who ended up becoming my best friend for the 20 years he was alive because he was that faithful person that never, or thing, creature that never judged, never was always there for me when I was sad and happy and all that. And I would hide in the closet, not to hide from people, but I was hoping that my parents would notice that I was missing. And so I would sit in there what felt like hours. I'm sure it wasn't. I'm sure it was just moments, and nobody would ever come, which just, through, our confirmation bias, it just confirmed that, oh, see, I really am invisible. And it was just this years of wanting to be seen in some places and then just wanting to be invisible in other places. And so just very much shrinking.
It's tough, and what upsets me the most, and it's difficult to hear that because it touches on some of my emotions that I had from my childhood. And I know that kids, you mentioned earlier, and of course I'm in the industry where we help children, and
Yeah.
there is help now.
Yeah.
It's just technology. As technology to make their life easier in the classroom. I always often wonder the child that sat there maybe with their headphones on, or the child that sat there with a device, so the text is being read out to them. Do they still go through that same emotion that you and I went through, that they're feeling singled out because they're doing something different, not the same as everybody else? And do they still take that baggage home that you and I took home as well? I wonder that. And it, it's 2025, and it still feels sometimes that we are still in the 70s. The emotional side of it and the mental side of it, I still don't think is fixed. I still think it's a long way off being fixed,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
it's
And
sad. It is sad.
it is very sad, and I think a lot of it has to do with how we see some of these neurodivergent,
Mm,
people, whether it's ADHD or autism or dyslexia. The society sees it as a disability, where I don't see it as that. I just see it as a different way of doing things, and there are beautiful gifts inside of how we do things differently. I mean, we are super resilient. We are super empathetic. We are super creative. And so if we can tap into that and kind of rewrite that narrative of it's a disability, this poor kid. No, we just do things a little bit differently, which makes us uniquely special. And as a matter of fact, we every one of us does things differently. Every one of us.
yeah, totally, totally.
Yeah.
You just touched on something that I picked up on last time as well. You used that word last time, gift. Um, what was the point where you realised that, okay, this is something maybe I could start using? And how did you, is this, maybe could you share how you started using that dyslexic thinking?
Yeah.
Be really cool for people listening, particularly parents that listen and are struggling with their kids just been given this label. Maybe you could perhaps share a light on that, because I think that'd be cool for people to hear.
Yeah, well, it's really interesting because, I got to a point in high school where, still you could do a different class for reading, and I was like, "No, I'm not doing that. I'm gonna be in the same class with everybody else." So, it was what everybody else had to do as far as working and prepping for school. I had to do it twice as long, twice as much. I had to spend so much more time doing everything. When I went to college, the university, I actually could have somebody go to class with me, take notes. I could do testing at a different location, different time, and have unlimited time to do the test. And I was like, no, I'm going to be just like everybody else. And so I just pushed through it. And it was hard. I mean, it was really hard. And so then fast forward to my professional life, and it was in 2017, quite
Wow.
many years later, where I was speaking at an office. I was in a leadership position, and I was speaking in front of an office. It was 100 people, and I was going to do a talk on the power of our brain and how we can overcome beliefs. And I was going to, for the very first time in my life, share with a group of peers that I had dyslexia. And it was the morning I had my PowerPoint done, and the morning of it, the presentation, I was like, "Gosh, I don't think I have dyslexia anymore. I think I cured myself. Like, I don't have this. This is like a thing that I've completely cured." Well, this was before ChatGPT or any AI, so I'm like, "Well, what do you do when you wanna answer a question?" You go to Google and say, "Can you cure dyslexia?" And the answer was no, you can't. And so I was like, well, shoot, I still have it. And so when I shared it with this group of people that had no idea, because I was very high functioning. I mean, I was in a leadership position, running 2 offices, speaking in front of people, and I shared it. J The amount of people that came up to me after that and that said, have you we've always seen you as this stoic person that never goes through any challenges or has any issues. You shared that with us, and it made me feel like I was seen. And so that told me that there's a lot of people that don't share their authentic self because they don't feel like it's safe. They feel like they're going to be judged, they're going to be labeled, whatever that is. And so I started doing research about dyslexia because I'm like, well, gosh, if I have it, then I want to lean into it and figure out like, what is it that I do really well? And I started looking at my life and I was like, the things that I loved doing was the creating of content, the starting things. But what I hated doing was the back end tracking and doing, having the systems that I have to follow. I didn't like to do that. And so I very much leaned into the things that I did really well and then let other people take over the things that I didn't do well. And as soon as I did
Genius.
that, I was able to rise up in that company and become the vice president. And but, years of, overworking, because we tend to do that with dyslexia because we're overcompensating. We feel we have to prove ourselves. I ended up I went through cancer, a cancer diagnosis, and then after that, about 2 years after that, I went through burnout where I was working 7 days a week because I felt like, "Oh my gosh, I'm the vice president. I passed all these other people that had been in leadership positions for years. They're gonna figure out I'm an imposter. I don't know what I'm doing." And so I felt like I had to work 60, 70 hours a week. And I made the decision to walk away not knowing how I was gonna support my I was a single mom, how was I gonna support my kids, my family, to lean into, "No, I'm going to help other people, doesn't matter what they're going through, achieve their goals." And so I started coaching people, and so I coach people all over the world, and I speak to people, and then wrote this book to really share my whole story with people. And the amount of reach out that I've gotten for that, has been really powerful. And people saying, they didn't have dyslexia, but gosh, I had this thing that I struggled with, and wanted to be invisible. And so it's just been this beautiful journey.
That's amazing. I mean, you're an incredible, incredible person. I hit it off with you the moment we first spoke, and I think to lock all that away for all those years, I oh, I don't know what you must have gone through. It's an incredible story. It's heartbreaking and incredible all in one. Like it's hard to imagine how you coped with that much pressure because you touched on people hiding. It's one of the worst things. I've mentioned this now on 4 podcasts. This will be the 4th podcast I've mentioned this on. There is a gentleman who remains anonymous. I don't know his name. He messages me after every podcast and said, "Thank you very much. That was brilliant." He's been in the same job for 7 or 8 years. I can't remember. He's dyslexic. He's ADHD and flat refuses to tell his boss that he's struggling every day because he's too scared of losing his job. And you just don't realize how much your pressure you're putting on yourself as an individual, like mentally, physically, emotionally, family, parents, children. It all passes by. And as you've just said, eventually it catches up with you. You get the burnout, and I mean to walk away from that where you were. I want to talk about the book, but I just want you to share something with everybody. So a couple of weeks ago when I met Pamela, I was telling her that I was really nervous because I was doing a webinar, and I so I don't listen. I'm using my dyslexia as an excuse here. It's probably not. It's just fear of public speaking. But it's like an imposter syndrome or a red cross on a page for me. I have fear of people seeing through me and me saying something wrong when I'm doing a talk. So I was telling Pamela this when we were talking, and Pamela said, "Oh, I can help you with that. Just tell everybody what you told me to do
Yeah,
before
yeah.
that webinar."
Yeah. So I think most of us live inside what I call our head bubble. We're running our lives from our mind. You know, you can call it our monkey mind. And think about what happens when we're running from there. We think about what's all the chatter. I'm not good enough. I'm not smart enough. I don't deserve to be here. What if I mess up? What if they see me? And it's all this talk that goes on up in our head. And so if we can take it from there and go into what I call our energetic center, if you follow yoga, it's your dantian, call it your womb space, your whatever, call it your core. And to me, so that means doing that deep belly breath. So when I find myself in my head, I do 3 deep belly breaths where I count in for 4, hold it for a second, breathe out for 6, and drop into my core, which is 3 inches below your belly button and kind of in the center. It's the center of your body. And so I envision like a light there. And through that light, I see basically shooting down through my legs, these beams that go into the earth and create these roots that completely ground you in this safe, beautiful space. And so I do this activity with people. I did it this week with a group of 20 women where I have them talk to somebody from their head bubble. And then I have them drop into their core and speak from there. And what happens is we slow down, we feel safe, we become completely present in our life, in our moment, and all the fear goes away. And we talk authentically. And when we talk from there, you attract people to you. They want to hear more, they want to hear what you say, and you feel completely safe there. And so I tell people anytime you've got to speak, in a relationship, in an office meeting, a critical conversation in front of a group of people, if you can drop down inside of there and just say, people need to hear what I have to say, and I'm going to speak from my core. It's just a very safe, different place. And so when we got on this morning, I was like, "Well, I'm not gonna get ready for this. It's not camera's not gonna be on. It's gonna be fine." And then you get on, and then you listen to what I said, and now you're doing this, and I'm like, "Yes, we're gonna do this because I'm gonna support you because I absolutely love that you
This
got."
is you. This is you. You've done this. You've done this video, not me. This is on you.
Yeah,
Just, but do you know the crazy thing about this? Okay, this was the bit that I realised. So I kept thinking, should it feel different? Should I feel different? And I kind of didn't. I was still nervous. I had that butterfly, but I remember talking. And now every other talk or every other speech or every other public announcement, whatever it might be that I've ever done, I cannot tell you one single word that I've said on that talk. But that webinar, I remembered everything. I got off and I was like, I think I did okay there. I felt like you just said, I felt like people wanted to hear what, and it just felt like it flowed. I didn't feel any anxiety. I didn't panic if I lost a word. It was so. If anyone's listening, if you have that emotion, that fear, it's brilliant. The book, which is also brilliant. So, Quiet Gift, really powerful title. I kind of think I know why you called it that because we talked about the quiet gift. Um, I kind of would love you to kind of give us an insight into the book. Um, Maybe we could talk a little about, we've talked about people that are hiding their dyslexia, but talk a bit about the book. Tell us why you've done it,
yeah,
what it means to you personally. I think it'd be great for people to hear that because it's wonderful.
yeah. And so it's interesting. I'll tell you kind of the whole journey. So I always felt like I had a book inside me that I wanted to share. Never really knew what part of my life I wanted to share. I didn't remember a lot of my childhood, and I think, with trauma, our brain protects us and we bury things, and it wasn't until I think 2019, I did what's called EMDR, and EMDR is a therapy that you can do to go through PTSD. And this came directly from going through my abusive marriage for 23 years. And then I was in these same relationships. And I was like, okay, the common theme here is me. And so I was going to counseling and she recommended EMDR. EMDR is used for PTSD. And basically, you put these paddles in your hand and they just vibrate and they go from one hand to the other vibrating and it's activating your brain and your memory. And so she will say a prompt word, and then she has you close your eyes and you do this, and then your brain starts to fire on all cylinders. And at first it was just dark. And then I'd get flashes of memories of things. And it was during that, and I only did 3 sessions because one session of EMDR is like 10 hours of counseling. And so I did this, and that's when I remembered about hiding in the closet. And then all of my childhood came back, the good memories and the bad memories, and all the way up to the present day. And what it does is it allows you to address those memories so that you don't have these patterns showing up in your world. And I was having these patterns. And so once I started doing that, I started journaling. I started journaling about these memories that started coming up. So fast forward, it was 2.5 years ago. I approached my business partner, Natalie, and I told her, I was like, I want to do a podcast and I want it to be on resilience. And I want to create a community for people that don't have other people when they're going through just tough times, and for inspiration. And it started with just the two of us talking to each other. And I think our second episode was me sharing about dyslexia. And again, that's a scary thing to now be public with it. Like, I don't know who's listening to our podcast. And then I found a woman in our community, Joy Short, who started the NoCo Dyslexia Foundation. And so they do testing. And the reason she started the foundation is because her son has dyslexia, and she learned that her husband had it as well, and he was never diagnosed. And so the first, like, second, third, fourth episode of our podcast is on dyslexia. And then it was probably a year later, I was like, Natalie, I think I want to do a book. Let's do a book on resilience. And we started this book, and it was like 64 pages, and it was going to be this self-help book on resilience. And each chapter was going to be on a different topic. And we were going to highlight some of our guests, because now we've had guests from all over the world on our podcast. And we got to 64 pages, and I hit this wall, and I said, this is not my story. This is not my book. This is not what I want to write. And so it was December of last year that Natalie was going to go on vacation for 3 weeks. And I called her. One of my coaching clients has sent me a book called The Energy Bus. And it was a small book, and it was a book in a series of books. And it was written like a story. And I called her and I said, can we scrap this book that we've written so far and just do this different? I want to I want to write it like a story, and I want to do a series of books that's digestible. I have dyslexia. You give me a big book, I'm not going to read it. I'm not going to read
No,
it.
no, no,
So I want
no.
something that's short and digestible and that will resonate with people. And so she said, well, I don't know how to do that, and I'm going on vacation. I was like, come pick up this book, read it on your vacation, and let me take a stab at it. And so during that holiday, I started writing. I took all of my journals that I had been writing, and I just started writing. And I wanted to make it a little fiction-y. So it is my story, but I have a character in there, Sam, who shows up. He's not a real person. So for anyone that reads it, it could be God, it could be your
Yeah.
inner voice, it could be
Whatever you want it to
whoever
be.
you want it to
Yeah.
be. And he gives the character a journal, because that's what I did. I journaled to find my story. Gives the character a journal. It's a worn journal. And every time she's going through a struggle, when she opens the journal, it'll just show up. It'll go missing, and then it'll just show up when she needs it. When she opens it, there's a journal prompt. There's a question that allows her to respond to. And so that was the little bit of a twist that I did. And so I wrote it, and I didn't realize how healing it was going to be, I'd like to say, because, when you write the story, you relive it, and then you're like, gosh, dyslexia and everything I went through was a gift, because it got me where I am today. And now I want to shout it from the rooftops, because I don't want people to have to live that invisible life like I did. Even though it ended up being a beautiful thing. And here's a cool story since you and I met. I had a high school friend reach out to me because she saw the book launch. I've not talked to her since high school, so 89. We played soccer together, and she does voiceovers. And so she is now making it an Audible book for me. So it'll be on Audible, because I'm like, it
Wow.
has to be on Audible, because people with dyslexia, we don't like to read. And so I want to share the message to more people. And so that's the
But listen, please let me know when it's on because it's yeah. Did you find it? You said you found it like kind of when you look back at it, was there parts where you struggled emotionally with it, or was it just did it just come easy?
um, I would say it was easy. When it got scary was when I had to share it with the editor. 'Cause now I'm like, "Oh, now I'm sharing it with a stranger. What if they hate it? What if they're like, 'This is terrible?'" Then when it launched on Amazon and we had to come up with a launch team, and I was sharing it with coaching clients and people I work with who don't know my story, that was terrifying. And then when I started getting the testimonials coming in and the outreach, then I was like, "Okay, this was good. This is touching people even that don't have dyslexia, but that have felt invisible in their life or currently feeling invisible in their life." And so then it was like, okay, this was the book I was meant to write.
It's amazing, and I think it'd be great as well for you know you said about people that don't even have dyslexia. I think maybe like uh, partners, wives, husbands, boyfriends, girlfriends of people who have dyslexia. I think it's a nice read for them as well because it 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 kind of shines a light on that feeling, and you can't. It's really hard to explain to anybody what that emotion up there is like. That invisible feeling, you know. Um, for me, I didn't feel invisible. It's a similar word. I guess it might be. I mean, I don't know. But I always felt a bit lost. I
Yeah.
didn't felt like I was quite like if it was 10 people, even now really, if I go to a work event, I struggle with that interaction of a lot of people. I tend to step back a little bit and I'll wait for someone to invite me in and maybe they'll step to one side and start talking to me separately. Ever since I was a child, I felt lost. So yeah, I'm going to give the opportunity at the end for you to give your details for people to reach out to you, and also, I think there's a discount on your book, right? At the
Yeah, so
moment,
it's still in the launch mode right now, so it is discounted through probably the end of the month, and then in December, the prices go up. And the ebook, if you have a Kindle membership, the ebook is free, or it's 99 cents. So if you want to do the ebook, it's very affordable right now. I want to speak to what you said about feeling lost when you're in groups of people because very much felt the exact same way. If I was going to an event, I would only go if somebody I knew was going, and I would plant myself next to that person the whole time, and I would just follow them around. And so doing that, dropping into your core. So now I do that before I'll go into an event, and I'll give myself the permission, connect with 5 people, and then you can go. And so I walk in, I drop into my core, I find 5 people, and here's the beautiful thing, you don't even have to talk about yourself. If you just go into a conversation and ask them about them, and I call it, forward questions, so ask them about their family, occupation, recreations, or dreams. If you focus on them, people love to talk about themselves. They don't wanna hear us talk about ourselves, so when we don't have to talk about ourselves, that's a beautiful thing, and then you connect with
well, there you
people
go.
in a deep,
There's
meaningful.
there's that's my next mission. So you've got me doing videos, got me
Yes, I'm
public
listening.
speaking. Next mission, yeah. Next time we speak, I'll be like, hey, listen,
Listen.
the group of people, I stand in the middle now.
Yes, yes, and then you'll attract people to you, that's the beautiful thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, no, I'll give it a go. I like that. It's a good idea. I mean, talking about work and everything. I mentioned this anonymous person that keeps messaging me, and it's playing on my mind a little bit because I really really want to help this guy. He's obviously lost as well, like we both were. Um, I think I think there's so many struggle. You mentioned the figure of 1 in 5. Um, there's figures been banded around today in the UK about ADHD, and it seems to be that it's getting talked more about, but we
Yes.
still don't seem to be doing enough about it in the workplace. I'd love to kind of tap into your thoughts on the workplace a little
Yeah,
bit.
yeah.
Um, you know, missed opportunities from, I mean, you've been a leader, right? You've been right at the top of the game.
Yeah.
So give me your thoughts on the workplace a little bit, and and what people might be listening. Let's go right for the head honcho. So we're
Yeah.
talking about the big boss.
Yeah. Well, if
Give them one piece of advice
yeah. Well,
if you can.
if 1 in 5 people have dyslexia, and we know that there's millions of people that have never been diagnosed with it. And for those people that are listening to this that maybe have ADHD, 50% of people with ADHD have dyslexia and probably haven't been diagnosed with it because they got the label of, oh, you have ADHD. So there you go. You're good. Um, so if you are in a leadership position, you either are the person that has some kind of neurodivergence, or you have people that work for you on your team that have it. And so if you are trying to manage and have everyone under you do the exact same thing, you're missing a huge opportunity, and you're probably making people feel exactly like that person that you said comments on every podcast episode. There is somebody that's on your team that feels disconnected and is afraid and is not giving you the best part of themselves. And that's a missed opportunity as a leader. And that's why I think I was successful in a leadership position, because I had that empathy, and I always seemed to inspire people that worked for me to be better. And that's what the power of being a leader that either has it or identifies that I probably have somebody on my team that is neurodivergent. How can I tap into what their quiet gift is? And and on either side, because you're going to have those people that don't have dyslexia that love the numbers and the stats and the reading huge long reports, but so utilize them for that because they probably enjoy doing it because they're good at it. But then those people that overwhelms them and they're not good and they struggle, and you can probably figure out pretty quickly those people that struggle with doing that. But find what those people that do struggle with that, find what they love to do, find what they're good at, because those people are the ones that usually can solve problems thinking outside the box because their brain is wired differently. They tend to be very creative. So if you can tap into that, you're going to build a team that is absolutely unstoppable because you're hitting it on all cylinders. You're utilizing every single gift that every person on your team has. And so it takes awareness on the leadership side. It takes slowing down and being fully present. When we talk about being in your core, that is the best place for a leader to be, is to be fully present, because you can hear and identify things that you're not going to see if you're leading from up here, just focusing on the numbers. If you're from down here, you're focusing on the people and building your people up. If you focus on them, all the numbers and everything else that's going to take care of itself. It always does. So, I hope that
I'm
helps.
curious. I'm curious.
Mhm.
As when you were in that position as a leader, did you spot? Could you spot neurodivergence? Because I kind of feel like it's not very often, not so much since COVID, but in the days when I used to be in an office amongst lots of people, I kind of think I could spot
Yeah.
a neurodivergent.
Yeah.
So I'm curious, as a leader, with you being as busy and as mind boggled with as much information as you had to process every day as a leader, did you still think to yourself, I wonder, without actually asking that person, did you
Yeah.
ever kind of like think that you thought you knew?
Yes, and for me, when I stepped into that leadership position, there was 0 training. It was just like, "Okay, you have a master's in leadership, you'd been in leadership positions in the past, so here you go, good luck, we'll talk to you later." And so for me, it was like, "Okay, none of these people know me, they don't trust me, and so I'm gonna lean into the relationship piece of it, and I'm just gonna focus on each of them." And so I started meeting with all of my staff on individual basis. Then I met with them as a team. And I did that with all the agents in my office as well. It was, I want to meet these people. I want to get to know them, because that's how you build trust, is building that relationship. It's caring about them. When you lean in and start to ask people questions about their family, what are their dreams? What is your long-term goal? Do you see yourself in this position forever? Do you have other aspirations? Because I, as a leader, want to help them aspire to whatever it is they want to aspire to. When you start to tap into that, you're pretty, easily able to see that. You're able to see what it is that they like to do, what their gifts are, and then I was able to leverage that. So, I was able to take the front desk person who had been there forever and hand off the stuff I hated, which was all of the contracts we had with vendors that took care of our building, like elevators and all that stuff, and so I was like, "Look, here's what I'd like you to do. I'd like you to reach out to each of these vendors. I'd like you to get new bids from them. I'd like you to organize it, keep us on maintenance schedule." I hate that stuff. I don't want to do any of that. I empowered her to do it because she loved it. She was great at doing it. And it took it off of my plate so that I could focus on the relationships with everybody in my building, which led to them increasing their productivity, which led to me starting to manage a second office and then becoming the vice president. And so when you lean into the people part of it, it's easy to find out because when people know you care, if that person, that individual that is commenting on your podcast knew that the boss cared about them as a person and what they had going on in their life and what their aspirations were, that person would have no fear sharing that, "Hey, this is what I struggle with." Don't even have to say you have dyslexia. It's like, "Hey, here are the things that I really struggle with. Here are the things that I'm really good at." And I get some
Exactly.
support.
And I don't think we get told as individuals, you and I, you now know what you're really good at. I'm still learning. I'll be honest with you. I think I do.
Yeah,
I'm getting there, but
yeah,
it's taken me a lot longer than it has you. But I think the moment you realize what you're good at, that gives you the ability to say to people, "Hey, listen, this is this is my left hand. I'm not so good with this, but you know what? My right hand, I'm really goddamn good with this." And I think the moment you understand that about yourself, and this is probably what this gentleman needs to do. And I'm not telling him anything about it, so please don't do this. But for me, if I was in that position, I think after so many years, I'd be scared because I'd be thinking to myself, am I going to get another job? I don't know how old this guy is, but maybe that's going through his mind. Maybe he's thinking, am I too old to get another job? So I understand that. But you've just, all those years ago, I don't think you realize what you've just said. All those years ago, you were practicing diversity, inclusion. All those years ago, because your mind was telling you, right, I've got to make my life a little bit easier because I don't want to be doing these things, but this person loves doing it. So the common thing to do is to give this person something that they enjoy doing. And my reasoning behind this was one of the things he said to me last week is that he hates a Sunday night. And I typed back why. And he said, because on a Sunday night, I know I have to go to work on Monday morning. And it broke me. I was like, you shouldn't feel like that.
yeah, and there's
You
probably
know,
a lot of people that feel that way.
yeah, it's scary. It's scary. There are so many. Um, I'll tell you this before we close off. I just put it on LinkedIn today. This morning, there's a study by the BBC about ADHD and that some hospitals now are not able to cope with the amount of people that need support and help. So
Mm,
they're just no longer doing it. There are
wow.
people that have been waiting 8 years to see somebody to get assessed,
Yeah,
just to be told,
yeah,
tattoo across the forehead, hey, you've got ADHD. You just mentioned about you would give it because you've got a degree. You just said, there you go, no instructions, off you go. You're now a leader. Same with ADHD. And it's the not understanding of what to do with it when you're given it. That's the trick, knowing what to do with it. Whether it be as a parent, as an individual.
yeah.
Um, but yeah, so one question then, before we sort of reflect on what we've talked about. Pamela, now, as you are right now, could you go back now and do what you did there?
Could I go back now and do what I did then? Tell me more about
So,
that.
so knowing what you know about yourself now, the
Yeah,
fact that you know what your strengths are as a
yeah,
dyslexic, you understand your dyslexia, you know what
yeah,
you're good at, what your
yeah.
flaws. Do you think if you were dropped back in that position as a senior leader right now, do you think you would do better? Do you think you would do worse? Or do you think you wouldn't even want to bother going there?
Well, part of me is like, I wouldn't even wanna go there because I believe that everything that we go through in our life is leading us to where what our purpose is. And
Journey.
if I would go back and do it differently, I may not have written the book, I may not have done the podcast, and I may not have been on this mission. So I would say I don't wanna go back because it's been part of what's created the purpose that I have today. And so, same with everything. My childhood, I wouldn't wanna go back and live a different childhood because somebody needs to hear what I have to say. Somebody needs to hear what you have to say. Somebody needs to hear what all of us have to say. And so when you said, you're still trying to figure out what it is that you are good at, what your gift is, look at your life. What are the things that you love doing? And when you're doing it, it's like you're in this flow state and you could do it for hours and hours and it feels like time is disappears. Those are the things that you're good at. The things that you're like, and you just are like dreading it and it feels like it takes forever. Those are the things you're not good at. And so that's a simple.
Interesting.
What do you,
Very
flow
interesting.
state? Yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
Another tip.
Right. Two
Yeah.
questions for you.
Okay.
One is a question that I ask everybody. I'll save that till last. So if you had to give a bit of advice to 7-year-old Pamela, what advice would you give her?
What
She
advice?
still feels invisible. What would you say to her?
You are enough.
Beautiful. Love it. That's just, yeah, yeah. Okay. Now I ask everyone this question and, I'm expecting big things from you on this one.
God.
Okay. No pressure.
No
No pressure.
expectation. No,
Hey, hey,
yeah.
take it from there, down
I'm right
there.
here. I'm in my core. I'll speak from my core.
So the reason I call this podcast Think No More is because that's what I was called pretty much 5 days a week in school. So I'd love to know, Pamela, what does Think No More mean to you?
Think no more is not seeing who you are as a limitation, but as a gift that will make you unstoppable.
Beautiful. That will definitely be used as a quote. So yes, very, very nice. Love that. So, um, if anybody wants us to reach out to you, which I'm sure they will, first of all, tell them where they can find your book and tell them if you're okay with it. What's the best way for someone to reach out to you if they want to have a chat with you or find out more about your
Yeah.
coaching or
I think the absolute easiest way to do it is to go to my website, Pamela at PamelaCass.com. And you will find a link to purchase the book on Amazon. You'll find a link to click if you want to have a conversation, if you want to call and do a Zoom call with me just to talk, to book me to speak. That's really the best way. It's got all of my social handles on there: LinkedIn, Instagram, TikTok, all of those. And so that's, yeah. If people want to reach out to me, I love to have conversations with people and inspire people to take themselves to that next level.
amazing. Thank you. I'll put all of Pamela's details in the bottom of the podcast. If anyone wants to click on it, it's there for you to click on. I just want to say, Pamela, I know it's super early. You're a beautiful person. And what an amazing conversation this has been. I think for me, one of the big takes from this is that as individuals that we don't need to feel invisible or lost or hide. Maybe if we can do what you've done, which is stand up, own yourself, um, make yourself feel the person that you can be. I think we can inspire other people to do the same. Um, and yeah, listen, the book is amazing, guys. And my message to all of you is if this is reached anywhere in your body where you think that's me, then reach out to me, reach out to Pamela. We can help you. We can talk to you. Maybe we can't fix it, but we can give you a tiny bit of glimmer of light at the end of a very dark tunnel. So, and I hope that Pamela's inspired you to go on and do wonderful things. Pamela, thank you so much. The best of luck with
Yeah.
your book, The
Thank
Quiet
you. Thank
Gift,
you.
and reach out to Pamela if you want to connect. Thank you so much, Pamela. Thanks for being on Thick No More.
Thank you.